It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and this is CarEdge Live for Friday, September 19th, with your hosts, me, Ray, in Ventnor City, and Zach, even though it looks like he's somewhere in Nevada, Red Rocks Park, I believe. He's really in Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you today? Handsome.
I'm doing fantastic. Happy Friday, everyone. Friday, September 19th, my sister's birthday, 5 days away. So can't wait to celebrate that. It'll be her first one with her newborn. So that'll be really exciting. Cannot wait for Dower's birthday. But folks, before we talk about birthdays and quite frankly, price hikes for new cars, we got to talk about the edge for your car. Check out CarEdge.com. Buy a car without the headache. And a friendly reminder, we've got car buying services. I heard a rumor that we're doing a flash sale this weekend, so stay tuned. Don't buy today. You heard it here first. Do not buy our car buying services today. Do it tomorrow after 8 a.m. Eastern time. I think we're doing 25% off, a little flash sale for car buying services back at CarEdge.com. Dad, the big story I wanted to cover first and foremost here would be Volkswagen, Dad. They are ringing the alarm bell. We've got price hikes up to 6.5% on some of their 2026 models. We're going to start here. We also know many automakers are increasing their destination charges. That is being factored into the MSRP of vehicles. So they're not increasing the price of the vehicle. They're just jacking up the destination fee. But here we got it, Dad. Volkswagen increasing prices 6.5%. That is not normal year-over-year price increases.
No, and they increased the prices of many of their vehicles earlier this year on 25 model year vehicles because of the advent of the tariffs. So we saw a price increase on 25 model year. We're going to see a significant price increase on many of the 26 model year vehicles, and the price increases range from 2.9% to 6.5%. And you know, that seems steep to me, almost as steep as those mountains behind you.
Yeah, Dad. Well, it means new vehicle affordability is going to be a challenge. That being said, Cox Automotive does say that new vehicle affordability is stable, even though we have higher prices. So we are going to continue to see car prices go up. That is the big theme here from Volkswagen, ringing that alarm bell. Hey, we jacked up prices of our 2025s, and get ready. We're jacking up the prices of the 2026s. We know other automakers are doing the same, some to lesser degrees and some to more. But ultimately, that is not having that big of an impact on vehicle affordability somehow, some way. I think it's directly connected, to interest rates, Dad. At least they're lower than they were a year ago, and the expectation is they will continue to go lower.
Okay, so it doesn't, the affordability issue doesn't seem to be that much of an issue for perhaps the 13% of the population that feels as if they can actually afford to buy a new car. For the other 85 to 87% of the population, I don't think that holds true.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, apparently, you as a manufacturer can sell enough cars to maintain your profitability to only 13% of the population. And that's what they're doing. Interest rates are down a bit. Let's look at the VW price increase for a second.
And let's also do it through the lens of like what's happened to their sales, because we know Volkswagen's in a lot of trouble right now. But yeah, let's start with VW.
Well, here's the deal. The low end of the price increase is 2.9%. The Fed lowered the Fed rate by 25 basis points. That is a quarter of 1%. And as we established yesterday when we looked at it, that with the average amount financed on a new car today and doing it on a 60-month loan, a quarter of percent drop in the annual percentage rate equated to a $5 drop in the payment from, what was it, $792 to $787. And you can't increase your prices by 2.9% and hope that a quarter of 1% drop in the APR, in the Fed rate, is enough to offset that 2.9% price. It is
Yeah.
not. It is nowhere near. So yes, things might be stable for the 13% or 14% of the population that feels as if they can afford to buy a new car. But it still seems entirely out of reach to the vast majority of the people out there. And, I'm pretty sure that 85 to 87% is a vast majority compared to that 13 or 14% that feels like they can do it. And if that doesn't scare the industry to a degree,
Yeah.
I don't know what will. And I had a conversation the other day with our dear friend Chip, aka Chris, aka Chip, and he couldn't get over how the comeback of leasing, and it's strictly because it's payment driven.
For sure. Pops, can I share a little bit more data here? Sorry to cut you off on your roll,
No.
but I want to
I
share
think I
more
was
data
pretty
here.
much done.
What you've got, Dad, is Volkswagen sales are actually down 29% in the second quarter of this year and 13% through the first half of this year. So
Yeah.
think about that. Price or sales volume is down significantly over at Volkswagen, yet they're having to increase their prices even more. Last time I checked, keep me honest here, you sold cars for 40 plus years. The higher the prices go,
Yes.
the less cars are going to sell, right?
That's-
Like this is a bit of a recipe for disaster for this brand, I think.
Well, yeah, typically, the higher the price of the vehicle, typically indicates that it is designed for fewer people, because it becomes a coveted item as opposed to an everyday item, which is why we have luxury brands. And I'm not just, when I say luxury brands, where you can buy overly priced stuff, it's not just in automotive, it is in all things retail, especially in fashion. And so yes, typically as the price goes up, you are looking at a smaller group of people who can actually afford to buy it. But the reason those people buy it is because it signals to everybody else, I'm rich. Okay. And so the dilemma with automobile manufacturers is every one of them would like to believe they're in the luxury automobile space, and they are not.
Let's review a few of the vehicles, Dad, that are seeing their prices go up significantly. Justin on our team compiled this list back in May. So let's come down here and let's look at some of these vehicles. We've got, for example, Honda Passport seeing a 5.1% price increase. Kia Sportage, 4.3% price increase. Genesis GV70 and the electrified version, 3.6 and 3.3. Cadillac increasing prices. I mean, we've got a great list here of year over year, the base MSRP changes, and at the low end, and at the top end. So Justin's done a great job here compiling the data. And a lot of these vehicles are seeing their price increases. Top line of the Honda Passport, for example, now a $54,000 vehicle. And to your point, it just makes it more and more exclusive. And if I'm not mistaken, Dad,
Yeah.
Subaru increased their prices by $750 to $2,055.
And that was back in May.
Yeah. So what happens when you do that to the 25s? And then, we talk about in 26, now prices are going to go up even more. It's a little bit of, I think ringing an alarm bell of like, okay, the ringing of the alarm bell is the combination of plummeting sales and having to increase prices. That's the ringing of the alarm bell. The two cannot coexist.
Well,
it's unsustainable for the two to coexist.
Well, they can coexist if you can figure out a way to maintain profit margins by selling fewer and fewer vehicles. And one of the things that we have discovered and found over the past 5-6 months is that many of the manufacturers have tried to absorb as much of the tariff increase costs as they possibly can. Well, every one of them that has done that has seen their profit margins
From
drop
it. Yeah.
from and most of the manufacturers had been somewhere around 10 to 12% profit margins, and those profit margins are now somewhere between 5 and 6%. So it, can you do it temporarily? Yes, I think you can. They're proving that they can. Can they sustain this long term when their investors and stockholders are used to seeing profit margins of 10 to 12%? My guess is that at some point, the stockholders and the investors are going to want to see a return to 10 to 12% profit margins so that they can get their return on their investments. Now, if they do that, how many fewer cars are they going to sell? Because that 13 to 14% of the population, it feels like they can, will
For sure.
suddenly drop to, I don't know, 10 or 11%.
You sound like a broken record, Dad. I listen to you every day. You sound like you're saying the same thing. I think maybe you mean it. From Justice here, from 2019 to 2024, Volkswagen raised their MSRPs by 38%, while the average for the rest of the auto industry was 30% during the same time. Igor's over at the dealer auction today, and he's just wanting to say cars are not selling and dealers are dumping them. Like we're talking about Volkswagen, Audi, etc. We know we can look at the slowest selling cars list as well, and we've got Volkswagens and Audis all over that list. Dad, let's switch gears. Let's talk about something else. You and I are a broken record about these price hikes. Hyundai, Toyota issue U.S. recalls for more than 1.1 million vehicles combined. What is going on here?
Well, in some of the Hyundais, if you sit in the back seat and you go to fasten your seatbelt, it will not fasten. The clicker doesn't want to click. It doesn't click in. There could be an issue. I think they've recalled, what was it, 560,000 vehicles. And it's like, how could that happen? That you never tested the damn seat belts to make sure that they were in compliance, so that, I don't know, when you inserted the tab into the clicker, it actually held in place. So there's that for Hyundai. And then Toyota has an issue with, what is it, the display, the dashboard displays on 590,000 vehicles. I guess the only thing I can think of is that both Hyundai and Toyota said to themselves, we just can't let Ford run away with this recall thing for the whole year. We need to step up to the plate, and bless them, they did, so that we have two different manufacturers to talk about with recall issues than our really good friends at Ford.
Any guess what number of recalls Ford's up to for the year, now that you mention them?
Well, I haven't looked. I know last week we were at 110. They've been obviously adding more than one a week. So I'm going to guess they're at like 113.
That's a really, really solid guess, Dad. They are at, drum roll, please.
Yes.
112.
Only two this week.
Only 2 recalls this week.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. What manufacturer is it? 20 something.
The manufacturer that is at 20, VW.
Look at that.
Yeah, these are Chrysler's at 33, Ford's at 112. Like, let that sink in, the gap there. Forest River for recreational vehicles, VW Group with 20 recalls, GM with 18 recalls, Mercedes-Benz with 16, and Honda with 16 recalls so far this year. Dad, the issue that Toyota's running into, it actually impacts 2.8 million vehicles globally, which is like a tremendous number. The bigger issue, to be clear, though, between an infotainment screen and or an instrument panel failure, and faulty seatbelt buckles is certainly the Hyundai issue with the faulty seatbelt buckles.
Yeah, one really is safety related. We have proven over time that seat belts, when used, work. might not necessarily work in an airplane when it crashes, but they do typically work in cars, okay, and trucks. A display screen, a dashboard screen that is malfunctioning to some degree, I don't think presents the same safety issue
Yeah.
as a seatbelt that doesn't work. Although it is a safety issue, I mean, you'd like to know that what's being displayed is accurate and you can count on it.
Yeah.
I suppose that technology is a wonderful thing. Screens are a wonderful thing. I was a week ago Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Story time.
When I arrived in Washington D.C. at Union Station, and I ordered a Lyft so I could get to my hotel, and the driver and I were just discussing how when you look at everybody walking down the street, that nobody is looking up. Everybody is looking down, and they are looking down at their phones. They are looking down at their screens. It is as if the world as we know it, if it isn't displayed on a screen, isn't really the world as we know it. And so, yes, technology is a wonderful thing. Screens are a wonderful thing, but they are destroying our lives in the sense that we can't just take in what is around us and see the wonders of the world through our eyes, as opposed I'm sorry, but it's
I'm just laughing because this show's all about the auto industry and cars and how to buy cars, and now you're getting all,
But look what they've done to cars. They used to be analog dashboards. They're now digitized. Okay. And why? Because it's a prettier screen. One of the selling features at Mini is, well, it's a 1080p OLED screen. Well, look out the window, damn it. Okay.
Dad, you don't want this. You don't want that. Come on, man. You don't want that.
No, you do. And so screens have overtaken our sense of wonder. I mean, the background behind you. To only look at that in the form of on a screen as opposed to in reality is crazy, because what's behind you is absolutely staggeringly beautiful. But you would never know it if you're just looking at it on a screen, whether it be the screen on your dashboard.
What about that one, Dad? You like this?
What about that one? I mean, why not just go to the planetarium? Okay, I mean, what? I don't know how I got off on this rant, but I
don't know how you did either. I'm trying to bring it back, but actually I'm just going to enable it.
And the reason you can't is because I think screens are harmful to human beings, and I think phones and social media are the most antisocial things that human beings have ever created.
I just did a quick Google search, Dad, of cars with the most infotainment screens, and it's definitely that Mercedes-Benz one. I mean, this is literally like you're just there's screens everywhere. Yes. So okay, we're gonna keep Ray away from the screens. Good thing he got a Mazda CX-30. Not too many screens for him there. We're gonna switch gears first. We're gonna thank Matthew. Today's show was a rant on screens. Didn't see that coming. Thank you, Matthew, for the kind contribution. Ford should change the recalls to blanket recall by model. They could recall every model and have far fewer recalls. Where's my $2 million efficiency bonus? That's a really good point. Just, instead of having 112 recalls, you could just, instead of going down to the trim level, recall all of them. Play it safe that way. That's pretty funny, Matthew. All right, Dad, let's talk about the Subaru news today. I thought this was pretty interesting. Subaru sales have actually not been growing, and after a 36-year-long production run, they're stopping the production of the Subaru Legacy in Indiana. I thought this was interesting.
Yes, it's the last one to ever be built to come off that assembly line. I think came off the assembly line September 12th.
Yep. Being sent to a dealer.
What was that?
It's being sent to a dealer.
Yes, and the funny thing about it is the last one they ever built was in a trim that is the least popular trim level. It's in their limited trim
Yep.
level, and most people don't opt for their limited trim levels. But 36 years ago, when Subaru and Isuzu, and many folks won't even remember Isuzu, but Isuzu is a manufacturer of vehicles, and they had a joint manufacturing facility, Subaru and Isuzu, in Indiana. And the Subaru that they built was the Legacy sedan. And I think it's gone through 6 or 7 generations since then.
Yep.
And it is kind of sad that, as you know, sedans have kind of lost their way with the American public. That after 36 years, they've built the last one that they're going to build. It is probably one of the roomiest sedans you could ever consider purchasing at an extremely, at least it always had been, an extremely attractive price point for everything that you got. I mean, it's huge. It is the chassis that the Outback is built on.
Yeah.
And so when you folded down the seats in one of those Legacy sedans, the amount of cargo room you had was unbelievable. And it's just kind of sort of sad.
It's another death knell to the
Yes.
sedan in the United States. Let's pull it up. I have it here on the CarEdge Car Search. Let's just take a quick peek at what's going on in the Subaru Legacy market. Just for perspective here, we're in Kensington, Maryland, where there is a 113 days supply of inventory. New cars selling for almost $60,000. So look at the Subaru Legacy as an option. Limited, like you said, not selling particularly well, but
Yes.
$37,000 price point. The premium, $31,000 price point. I'm going to click into one of these in a moment. Let's do the Legacy that doesn't sell particularly well. Open that in a new tab, and let's look at, or that was a premium, excuse me. Let me open up a Legacy, so I'll come back up here, this one. Dad, you can see here, $37,833 MSRP on the Legacy, $35,387 dealer invoice price, and look at the target discount that CarEdge is suggesting, $4,000+ off. That's over a 10% discount because 116 days supply. It's not selling particularly well. And I'm just curious what the incentives are on this vehicle.
They only sold 19,000 of them last year.
And you've got subvented financing, 3.9% for 36 months. That's good.
Okay, so what does that mean for most people? That would put their payment well in excess of $1,000 a month.
For sure, Dad, for sure. But still, I hear where you're coming from, but it's still a subvented interest rate, and it's a good interest rate. 3.9%. The average new car finance rate is over 9%. Here's the premium, the even cheaper option. We can see here in our neck of the woods, 181 days supply. So yeah, it's not selling, which is congruent with what we know about sedans in the United States, but it's an affordable price point. It's roomy, like you mentioned before, and there's fairly strong incentives against it. I mean, I know you're saying you wouldn't finance for 36 months with that comment, is at least what I'm hearing you say, but 3.9% financing, and you're also getting, 10% dealer discount on a $30,000 vehicle. That's awesome. That doesn't exist in today's market.
No, it's a lovely vehicle. It's just not a popular vehicle, and it's kind of sad.
It is sad because it's another example of a fairly reasonably priced vehicle that could get people from point A to point B that's going by the wayside in favor of more profitable and more expensive vehicles. It's another example of that.
Yes, another of the ongoing and growing list of examples of that. As we see the Mitsubishi Mirage bite the dust, we see, I think, the Nissan Versa's biting the dust. The Altima, I believe, is biting the dust. So we are just not a sedan-driven market anymore. And maybe perhaps to some degree we should be, and we should learn to do with. I know people hate when I say this, but we should learn to do with smaller vehicles, because most people don't need the big ass SUVs and big ass trucks that they drive. certainly create more parking spaces for people if everybody drove little cars.
All right, now we're gonna do a live experiment, y'all. All right, so let's come over here. Give me a second. Subaru Legacy interior screens. Wait for it. Not bad, Dad. Not bad.
No, they've been using that style of screen for years.
Not bad.
Yeah, it is. It is unlike what you find in most cars today.
Not bad. Not bad. Thought it might be worse.
You
But
know,
actually,
that
yeah.
reminds me. That reminds me to a degree of when you had that Volvo S90.
Yeah,
Similar type of screen.
definitely.
Yeah.
Also, it's super interesting, the kind of like peanut buttery interior. Also, I just want to pull up from space here. I would get a 2025 Camry SE hybrid for $30,000 before tax, title, and license. Instead, I think space is on to something here. That being said, limited options when it comes to, in this case, sedans. So it is definitely a smaller market, much smaller market, but with value. I would say actually legitimate value today. Okay, that's all I had for today, Pops. That's all I had.
Okay, then be that way. That's
Well,
all
do you want
have.
to talk about screens for 4 more minutes? We'll see if
No,
viewership goes up or down.
No, I think my rant was just about long enough.
Fair.
And I want to thank you, and I want to thank our audience for allowing me to get a lot of my feelings out there, so that I can express them, so I don't get frustrated and just carry them deep inside of me.
We're here for you in that way, Pops.
And trust me, nobody appreciates it more than I do. I am ever so thankful that people will allow me the opportunity to share what I feel in many cases.
There you go, Dad. Well, folks, if we can help you out with anything, again, check it out, CarEdge.com. And again, we've got a little flash sale running this weekend. So do not buy our car buying service or negotiation expert today. Instead, wait till 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, or just reach out to our team and we'll give you that.
May I say something about that? It takes a lot of courage as someone who operates a business to say to the public out there, don't do it today, because I'll feel bad if you do it today at full price, when I know in my heart of hearts that tomorrow you could do it and save 25%. I would prefer that you wait until tomorrow. That takes courage.
Thanks,
that, I think, is a lovely indication as to the type of person that you are, in that you're not doing this in order to take advantage of people. You are trying to do this in a manner that doesn't take advantage of people. And so, as the CEO of a multi-million-dollar business, well, it is.
It is.
It is. I'm sorry, but it is. Thankfully, you don't have any public stockholders, because they might get mad at you. But it speaks volumes to the type of person that you are in order to do what you just did.
Thanks, Pops. Appreciate you. Thanks for putting the spotlight on me. All right, folks, we'll be back on Monday. I'll have a new background on Monday as well. Dad, enjoy the upcoming weekend. It's going to get up to 90 degrees here in Washington, D.C. today. I'm going to go play some tennis tonight. I think I'm going to be sweating my butt off. It is going to be so hot, but it's going to cool down for the weekend, which I'm really excited about. Well, enjoy the weekend, Dad.
Well, the good news is you could get on a train. You could come here, and it's only going to top out at 80 degrees. And with those sea breezes, it'll seem even cooler than that when you're playing tennis, or as many people do at the shore,
pickleball. Yeah, not a pickleballer, more of a tennis player. All right, Dad, I love you. Enjoy the afternoon, okay?
I love you too. I shall talk to you later. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and we'll see you back here on Monday.